All right, there you go. So now let's just scroll down. Here the ink. Okay, for part two. For part two, we're finding the product. So in other words, we're multiplying, right? We're multiplying. Okay. So this is not our main lesson anymore. So you can use whatever shortcuts you learned from last chapter, right? Okay, so try not to use the box method. Like at this point, right? At this point, imagine you are in a geometry class and the teacher says, okay, here are rectangles and these are the dimensions. You gotta find their areas, something like that. So try not to do the box method. Try to do it in your head. Okay? All right. Well, how? What's the quickest way possible? Well, aside from matching the letters, because the letters are pretty obvious, right? You can do like first times first, which is x times x, right? So x squared. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So you know that the first is x squared and the last is positive 4. Okay, so pretty much it looks like letter G, yeah? But you have to double check the middle and the outer. Yeah, so let it put that smile on the face, right? Make a little smiley. So that's negative 2x and a negative 2x, and that's how you can be sure that it's letter G because it's negative 4x when you combine them. Yeah? So number one is letter G. Okay, so can I give you, it's 9:22, can I give you like 3 minutes to finish this one? Okay? All right. And don't just match the letters, but I know you can do it that way. But like for the benefit of those who are still learning it for the first time, try to do it in your head, okay? Yeah. So use the method that I taught you. Multiply the first x and x, that's x squared. Negative 2, negative 2, that's gonna be 4. And then you're gonna do the smiley, negative 2x, negative 2x, so that equals to negative 4x. Okay. Yep, and if you finish that early, move on to the next item in that folder, which is like a little bit of reading. Uh-huh. Okay. Go, go, go. Why's LAUSD calling like this early? Never mind. Okay, so I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay, go get your Chromebook and I'll help you set up. You can zoom in at the steady if you want. Come on. Hmm? Hmm? Come on. Look at your hair, it's so pretty, so they would see your pigtail. Come on, go. Huh? Go Pina. Okay, wait. Let me see. What's on? No, I'm saving some battery. If you finish, Brian, proceed to the next item in the folder. Yeah, I think it's the part that has the reading. Yeah, just a very quick graphic. Yeah, and then it tells you what to do next. hmm All right, it's 9:25, so let's check your answers. Okay, in the chat pod, number 2. I want to see your answers in the chat pod. G for Gibson. G from Alyssa. Dwight said G also. Ryan said G. All right, I'm convinced. Wait, that was. Did I say number 1 or number 2? Okay, so we all gave number 1, huh? All right, G. All right, next. Number 2. Oh my god, that was a lot. Okay, hang on. Let me go back to the list. Look, Aubrey, Ryan, Alyssa, Jaylene, and Dwight all said letter I. All right. So let's play bingo here. Next, number 3. Oh, why did I put it there? Number 3. K from Luke, Ryan, and Alyssa. Next, number 4. Number 4. H from Luke, Ryan, Aubrey, Alyssa, and Dwight. Okay, number 5. Number 5. All J's from Ryan, Aubrey, Luke, and Alyssa. And last but not the least, what do we have? L from Alyssa, Aubrey, Ryan, Luke. All right, L for Luke. Okay, good job, everybody. All right. Okay, I'm going to clear this ink so we can move on. Go ahead and submit that one. I think some of you have submitted it already. That's great. Okay, so now let's go back to let's go back to the folder. So in the same folder, you will see a little bit of some notes. Okay, you have to use your notebook, and preferably if you have a graphing paper or grid paper, that will be great for this chapter. So sometime, or I think exactly a year ago, right? The whole world started to talk about flattening the curve. Okay. Yes, and I think this may not be the perfect kind of curve that describes um, the coronavirus curve, but I think there is value in looking at some properties and knowing how to interpret its key features. So that is our main goal for this chapter. Uh-huh. All right. This was so timely, like when school shut down last year. Okay, and still is relevant today, right? Okay, so in this chapter, we will start to graph what we call parabolas. Okay, so the curves that we're going to look at this chapter are called parabolas. And these parabolas may open downward, just like what you see on the graphic, or it could also be opening upward. Now, when you go to Algebra 2, you will start looking at parabolas that also start or that opens to the left or to the right. Now, in the chat pod, where or let me know, did you start graphing parabolas last year in middle school? Say yes if you did, no if you didn't. Okay, that's cool. Yes. All right. That's great, you guys. Okay, I see a couple. All right. Kinda. Okay, so it was mentioned. Uh-huh. It's in the same folder, LaTroyce, right after your interleave review. You don't remember? It's okay, we'll help you remember. All right, so let's move on. Just click on next and it will move on. It should move on to the next one, does it? Okay, so now we need your notebook, you guys. The very first thing we will do, okay, is to graph the parent quadratic function. So a grid paper will be very helpful. And as you guys can see here, it's going to ask you to take a picture of your work and upload it like when you're done. Okay, so let me give you, some time to do this. On your notebook, copy and complete a table of values, which is worth 5 points. And then you're going to draw the graph of the given quadratic function. So the quadratic function is y is equal to x to the second power. So to model that, did everybody see or find this one already? Yes, yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, because you were asking me earlier. All right. So on your paper, you're gonna graph or you're gonna complete the table of values like -2 to the second power. So that's -2 squared. That's going to be 4, right? So you have to complete the table, and then when you're done, you guys have to make a graph here, right? And when you're done graphing, you have to take a picture of it so we can share it with our classmates as well. Okay? So it's 9:31. Can I give you about 7 to 8 minutes? Okay? All right. I'll give you some more time. Hi, Michaela. Hi, Michaela. Did you see? I fixed your Schoology, honey. Let me know if I missed out on anything. Okay, and can you sign in, please, for me? Okay. Put up a P if you can sign in. That would be great. Why? Can you sign in for me, please? Let me see. Yeah, just erase my letter P and write your name. Jaylene, if you could sign in, please. Thank you. Joshua. Nicholas. Tabitha. Why did she keep writing that name with the bottom? And I told her to go to the serious. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, are you almost done? Okay, if you guys are done, you're going to upload your work Yeah, if you can, take a picture and then upload your work so we can see it online. Yep, that was here. Quadratic parent function. I'm not sure if the grades are showing, so I'm just going to like hide yours grade. All right, did anybody get to submit it? Did I give you enough time? I have to help my kids get started with you. Um, graphing quadratic function. All right, we see your interleave review over here. I probably have to, probably forgot the date again, so it doesn't show yet. Edit, the date today is, oops, what was that? Today is March 16th, and it's underground. Did anybody finish? Did you upload it? I haven't. Okay. No one has uploaded yet. Okay. Anybody ready to upload so we can see it over here? Not yet? Okay. Sure. Okay. So maybe some of you are done, but you're doubting yourself whether you're right or wrong. Okay. So let me help a little bit. Yeah? Okay. So let's look at this one. You just turn it in? All right. Awesome. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to refresh my screen. All right. Thank you, Alyssa. This is so cool, huh? It's like, when you're in the class, like, okay, who wants to share his or her paper right here? I know, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm excited but scared. All right, look at that. Okay, so thank you for showing how you plugged in the values. That's very, very helpful. All right, and then look at the graph. You, you made it perfect. My gosh, like mine will be like a very rough sketch. Okay, so based on our graph, I just want to like bring up some topics that or some concepts that we heard last semester that are also like applicable to this one. Let's say for example, can you help me write down like the domain of the function based on the graph? So imagine can I write over it? Yeah, I think. So imagine if we extend the graph to more possible values. I couldn't even, yeah. So imagine if we extend the graph such that it's using all the negative values over here and all the possible or positive numbers on the right hand side. So then that means the graph will extend infinitely, right? So then based on the graph, can you tell me what the domain is? Tell me what the domain would be. If you remember the method we had last semester, if you touch the leftmost and you touch the rightmost, if you're touching arrows on both sides, then what does that mean in on the domain? The domain is what? Is it some numbers only, or is it all real numbers, or oh, my screen is paused? My bad. I'm sorry. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. So imagine if I'm extending the graph infinitely on both directions. So what do you think should I put for the domain? If you start from the left, that's an arrow. Arrow means infinite. If you touch the right side or right end, infinite again. Very good. So the domain is all real numbers. Okay, now what about the range? So the domain of a quadratic function is all real numbers, just like linear functions. What about the range? The range is you look at the lowest y value, right? So what is the lowest value there? The lowest is 0. And everything else is above 0. Yeah? So how are you going to write that for the range? The range is y and then what? It's above, so do you say greater than or less than? It's above 0. How will you write down the range? Is it y is greater than? Yes. And since 0 is also included, you see that? You're going to put the bar underneath, right? Uh-huh. So y is greater than or equal to 0. In fact, this 0 has a special name, and this is called the vertex. So the vertex is 0, 0. Now, there's more about the vertex. If you guys look at this x-axis right here, this axis splits your graph into two equal parts. So that's called the axis of symmetry. When you go to geometry, they're also going to call that the reflection line. Reflection line. Or axis of reflection. That means across that line, the graphs would fit exactly. Right? Okay. Now we can also describe the graph in terms of where it's increasing. I hope you guys are writing this down on your on your paper. Okay, you can also identify the portion where the graph is increasing, meaning it's going up, and where it's decreasing, meaning where it's going down from left to right. So, for example, this is the vertex 0, 0, right? Let's look at the pattern to the right of 0. So to the right of 0, if you trace the graph, you're going up. So that's increasing. So how do you describe to the right of 0? How do you describe to the right of 0? How are you going to write this as an interval like this? Are you going to use x or y as a variable? Okay, give that some thought. How am I going to write where is it increasing and where is it decreasing? If you remember, we did this for an absolute value function also last time. Yep. Okay, so can you tell me the interval for which this is increasing? It's when the value of x is what, greater than or less than 0? I don't know if you guys remember the patterns I taught you last semester. The increasing part follows the sign of the range. So if the range is greater than, then we follow that same sign. In other words, to the right of 0, it's going up. So that's going to be greater than or equal to 0. Thank you. Now, or you can also put x is greater than 0, no equal sign. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. And then for the decreasing, you remember the shortcut that I taught you last time? The increasing follows the sign of the range, and the decreasing is just the opposite. So then that means it's going down here to the left of 0. So this will be x is less than or equal to 0. There you go. Now, acceptable answers could also be x greater than 0 if you don't count the vertex, and then x is less than 0. So all of those are possible answers. Okay? All right, so go ahead and hopefully you wrote those down because you're going to need them. Let's clear the ink. If you haven't uploaded it, make sure that you guys upload it. Okay? Now I'm going to move us on. I need to go back to the folder. Okay. So let's look at some of the properties of um, or reading, which is the characteristics of the parent quadratic function. So this will just summarize some of the things that I mentioned. Okay, so you don't have to copy this down if you copied my notes, right? Okay, so you call this the parent quadratic function. I mentioned the axis of symmetry. The vertex is either the minimum or the maximum point. So if you can add that to your list, the vertex here is minimum because it's the lowest point of the graph. But if your parabola is opening like this, I can even make a perfect parabola. Okay, then that one will be your maximum. Now, why is it the maximum? Well, because it's the highest point. I can't even spell now. Highest point. There you go. All right. Is there anything after this? No. Okay, so that's just all the terms that I wrote on the screen earlier summarizes, what you see in this reading. So now I'm going to click on next, and you will, I think I probably don't have the date on that one again. So 8.1, let me fix this one. Let's go graphing. It's the 16. All right, so let's take a look at this. Properties of the parent quadratic function. So now that we've seen the previous paragraph and you have already written down your notes, what I would like us to do is to fill out this chart over here. Okay, so we've identified and written down all the answers. You just have to kind of match them up, right? Just want to mention concavity is just a fancy name for whether your graph is opening upward or downward. So opening upward or downward. There you go. And since we're graphing y is equal to x squared, if you remember our lessons about transformation last time, the number in front of x squared is positive. So if that is positive, then the graph is opening upward. Remember when we have the absolute values? Okay, so based on the notes that you took down today, go ahead and, click on, I couldn't put the equal sign underneath the greater than, so I just have to put it that way. Okay, so go ahead and match your answers. Okay, they are numbered accordingly, so make sure that you match those. Look at the notes that you took down. Yeah, so it's 9:49. Can I give you about 3 minutes to work on this? Okay, go ahead. All right, did you guys finish it in the last 3 minutes? Any more time? Well, go ahead and submit your answers so we can figure out if some of us finish it or not. Okay. Are there any particular questions that we can go over? So how are you going to answer number one? What is the vertex of the graph that you drew? What's the vertex of the graph that you drew? Anybody? What's the vertex again? The vertex is the lowest or the highest point of the graph. Yeah, like where the line of symmetry is at. 0, 0. Very good. Uh-huh. Okay, that's great. Now, what is the axis of symmetry? The axis of symmetry is the dividing line. So we said earlier that if the graph looks like this, yeah, so this one is the axis of symmetry, and that's the vertex, correct? Which is 0, 0. Now, this was the y-axis, but what is the equation of the y-axis? How do you write x is equal to 0? Very good. All right. Okay, that's great. For number 3, concavity is whether it's opening upward or downward. So which one did you pick for the parent function? So concavity is either the graph is concave up or concave down. Those are the only options, opening up or opening down. So what did you guys pick for number 3? Concave up. Very good, Giselle. Up, Alyssa, Jaylene. Okay, very good. Okay, now for the domain, what's the domain? I think we wrote down the domain for this function, right? Okay, so what did you pick for the domain? Okay. All right, for the range. So like all of this we discussed, right? On the I used Alyssa's graph paper to discuss all this, and all you need to do is just match them up on your Schoology. Okay, so are there any more questions on this? Any more questions? Well, go ahead and submit your work if you're done, so we can see if we need to delete some attempts. Okay, I can see some of you accessed it already, right? Okay, other questions about 8.1? Because I don't see everybody's work like submitted yet. Any questions? Any questions, you guys? What about decreasing? Okay, what about decreasing? There you go. Thank you, look. Mhm. So when you guys move on to Algebra 2, there will be like, remember, our class prepares you for that, right? Should prepare you for that. So you have to like understand the concept of where is the graph decreasing. So not just, you know, uh-huh. So the graph is decreasing when the graph is going down from left to right. And that happens when the x values used are to the left of 0. So to the left of the vertex. Uh-huh. That's why Luke said x is less than 0. Okay, that's great. All right, and for those who have not accessed it yet or who have not started, so if you wrote down the notes that I wrote on Alyssa's notebook, those are the answers to that activity or assignment. So make sure that you do that later on, okay? All right. So if you could please go back to your, where's my folder again? To your 8.1 folder. So for your homework, I'm going to show you where your homework is at. You guys will see identifying properties based on graphs. So it's the one with the blue, it's the one with the blue icon. You see this, right? Okay, so you will do this for homework. All right, and when you guys are done, in this screencast, like there's some notes that I want you to write down before we meet next meeting. Okay, I'm not expecting you to do this. We will do them together, but there's some notes here, some shortcuts, some formulas that I'm gonna ask you to write down on your notebook before we start discussing on Thursday. I will definitely go over them with you again, but I just want you to have a quick look and write them down on your notebook. So for your homework, it's going to be this 8.1 and jotting down some notes from my screencast. Okay? All right. Do you guys have any questions so far? What are you going to do for the 8.1 properties? It's going to be the same thing. You see that? I give a graph, right? I give a graph right here, but now I moved it. It's no longer in the center. You get what I mean? So all you need to do is match their answers right here, and the choices are right here at the bottom. And there's two sets of those. The other one now is opening differently. Can you put the homework in the upcoming? That's a good suggestion. I think when I put the date, it automatically went through. Hopefully. Yeah. Okay. So we should have you should have finished all these three. You should have all the answers to this three already. Okay, so I don't want you to think that you have four homeworks because we did them as we were in Zoom. So this is your only homework, okay? All right. Okay, you guys have other questions for me?